our guests are arriving. If we can have Beryl upstage so that as they settle down. So we'll have the two people give us some entertainment and then we'll go into the program. Beryl, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The poem doesn't have a title yet, so I would like you to imagine an elephant and then think of something that can swallow an elephant whole, and then think of something that can swallow that which swallows the elephant. Now, at the end of the poem, I hope we can learn to be that which swallows the elephant. Quite a mouthful, so I shall begin. Imagine the days when we, unawakened, fumbled in the dark of economic want. Picture the moments of hopelessness when we, without knowing, were lost in economic despair. And days of old, now gone, when women like us could not even bargain with their flesh. Days of deep darkness, days of great want, days of extremities when economic empowerment was just a fable, an elephant that we were supposed to swallow. At some point, someone saw, some woman somewhere who sat at the table, she saw the light. A unique position of a world teeming with opportunities that needed to be seized, a stretch of hand and aha, the low-hanging fruit would be in our grasp. But all around us, people were throwing up their hands and saying, this cannot be done by a woman. Thus, we let the elephant grow big in the room, too big for us to breathe, and we sat stifled in great need. Unknown to us, we lost. We lost time. We lost our chance to be first. We lost ourselves to a race we were supposed to win. What stood in the way soon became the way. And so we wandered far, seeking for economic gains that were never handed out to us. We let ourselves be plagued by demons of poverty, demons that gently whispered and led us astray until our energy was sucked from us and our God-given right lost in the wizardry of baser minds. The elephant in the room became way too big. Something had to swallow it, or it would surely kill us. For long we kept as pets pythons of luck, fondling them in pleasure in the dark. Wild serpents danced in our backyards, dances of poverty, secretly trampling our health. We fed our snakes that scared our dreams and killed our visions while we smiled and bowed. We let the slithering monsters block our sun, causing our rickets to fester, making us immobile, sitting in darkness. We were fearful for our lives, trembling as the world moved on, hoping for something that could just come and swallow the python or the proverbial elephant, if you please. Then we started to think. Help wasn't coming. We had to rescue ourselves. We stopped praying for things to get easier. We sought to be better. We quit hinging our excuses on our femininity. For crying out loud, we thought even Eve was a woman. And look at what she did to the world, 7 billion and counting, not to mention the Apple saga. She dealt with her elephant the only way she knew how. And so today, here and now, we decide with enough courage to shake the world that if it does not exist, we will create it. If they will not employ us, we will employ them, and while at it, employ them too. This elephant must be dealt with. And so to the rescue mission, think of the elephant of ignorance. Education will swallow that. Think of the elephant of poverty. Enterprise will swallow that. The elephant of fear, just a little bit of action will swallow that. And of not knowing anything or anyone, some networking. Of feeling lost, goal setting. Think about it. The elephant quickly turns into a pill and is swallowed by something else. And all we have to do is swallow that which swallows the elephant. You see, there is a God-given light. There is a light that burns in every heart. a part of God embedded in each one of us, the secret flames that burns without consuming, the fire that pushes humans to dream and to desire, the inferno that will burn to the ground any purpose that is not fulfilled. And if our higher purpose calls us now to economic empowerment, we must swallow financial education. We must swallow enterprise, swallow some action, swallow networking, swallow goal setting, swallow courage. We must stop worrying that our success will upset somebody else and simply be the thing that swallows whatever swallows the elephant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beryl. As you leave, I'm already feeling bloated after swallowing so much. And I think at the end of this, what we need to ask is what is the title of that poem? So Ruthuku, you can come up.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here once again. And I must thank the university. They are the only people who give me a job once a year, every year. So I'm glad to be here. I have a poem. It's a new poem, so I'm going to read it. And my poetry goes through music. So I hope you'll help me sing. Ni sawa? Twende mbele hakina mama, twende mbele wa mama wetu, twende mbele wa mama twende mbele wa mama Kenya. Ndio maana tunasema twende, ndio maana tunasema twende. Ndio maana tunasema twende mbele. Ndio maana tunasema twende mbele. This one is for the women in politics. This one is for the women out in the streets. This one is dedicated to the women athletes. This one is for the women in business. This is for the women in the villages. Poverty is a product of injustice. Poverty is a product of poor governance. Poverty is a product of the measures of oppression. Poverty is a child of violations of human rights. Poverty is a product of politics of divide and rule. Poverty is a product of gender discrimination. Poverty can only be diminished if we rescue our beautiful nation through women emancipation. Poverty cannot stand the way of genuine mageuzi towards total liberation if we free our women. Poverty starts in the mind. Poverty ends in liberated minds. Only economic liberation can set our women free. Evictions of mothers and children in the ghettos must stop. For women, the queens in the ghetto, to economically regain their dignity, to socially breathe the air of justice, women must be freed of their economic manacles, chains. Soon and very soon, may the African red sun rise for those gallant women of Africa, those known and especially the unknown. May the African sun shed light upon Mekatilili Wamenza, queen from Giriama land. She who was stolen by the colonial terrorists 1914, taken all the way to Gusii land. Queen Mekatilili Wamenza, she who broke out of prison and walked more than 1,000 kilometers back to Giriama land to continue with the liberation of our people. Let us remember not to forget Muthoni Nyanjiro, 1922, nyuma yetu hapa, Harithuku Road. She who led Kenyans in protest against the jailing of our leaders. And when the settler colonialists saw this, they shot her in the heart, and her blood flowed down to the ground, mixing with the soil of our land, germinating the seed of the Kenya Land and Freedom Army. We cannot forget to remember Muthoni Nyanjiro. Let us remember Moraa Ngiti, remember Siongu, Siotune, Siokimau. Let us remember not to forget. Women writers in Kenya, Wangui Wagoro, Mora Gita, Mudhoni Likimani, Olude Makogoe, Professor Meshere Mugo, Mama Mwana Kupona, 1865, Rebecca Njau, playwright, educator, Asaneth Mbole Odaga, Professor Wanjiko Kabera, we are proud of you. Christina Odone, Professor Mbote, Margaret Ogola, Margaret Kobia, Grace Ogot, Rebecca Nandwa, she who wrote and writes for children. Yvonne Diambo Awor, Shelja Patel, Hazel De Silva Mugot, Charity Washioma, Miriam Were, Nancy Barasa, still we remember you. Dr. Nancy Barasa, Ochola Obande, Rhoda Maende, Martha Karua, Aida Odinga, women in politics, Esther Mwaura, Salome Muigai, Terry Kantai, Wamboi Kanyi, Kamla Sikandi, Adelina Mwao, Margaret Kobia, you're here once again. Yes, I honor those they say we don't have. Kenyan women in science. Mary Abukutsa Onyango, Fardosa Ahmed, Winnie Apio, Evelyn Getao, Paula Kahombu, she who plays with elephants, Gladys Ngetich, Catherine Ngila, Borna Nyaoke Anoke. Women actors, Lupita, your dreams are valid. Fadia Stella, Dambuki Angela, Wanjiko the teacher, Sarah Hassan, Nini Washera, Dr. Mufshai Mwangola, Mary Oyaya, Gurinda Chada, Liz Njaga, Sine Gupta, Hawa Usman, Malaika Farth, Mweni Lundi, Atieno Midimo. Women activists. I remember Njeri Kabeberi, remember the Freedom Corner, Cherotich Sei, Deka Ibrahim, Orie Rogomanduli, Fatma Abdikadir, Ruth Mombi, Wanjeri Nderu, Daisy, Amdani, and the little fighting girl power, Wanjiro Wanjera, she who says, if we lose our fear, they lose their power. Women pioneers, Mary Okello, Elizabeth Marami, first woman marine pilot, Justice Kalpana Rawal, Susan Sirma, who was the first black woman to win the track and field, paving way for Edan Kiplagat, Mary Kaitan, Catherine Dereva. I close with an endless list. Let us talk about Koki Mutungi, first African woman to fly the Dreamliner. This one is for those looked down upon, those women who are crushed in the grassroots, those women evicted in Kenyan slums. This is for those killed in political clashes, those killed for men to retain power. This one is for those recently evicted in Kariobangi, those like Mama Wairimo Mwangi, impoverished in Kariobangi, Evelyn Otieno, left out in the dark cold of the night of Kariobangi, Wanjiro Gitao, kicked out in the middle of the night of Kariobangi, Habiba Ibrahim Guyo, stripped of her basic rights, Virginia Wanjiro Wamai, Halima Isaac Abdi, Monica Katui Mutua. For you, I will walk an extra mile. This is for those Kenyan women whose lives significantly changed society under the situation that we are in. Songa mbele wa mama twende mbele, twende mbele wa mama wetu, twende mbele wa mama twende mbele kina mama wetu, twende. Ndio maana tunasema twende mbele. 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 Ole yo. Tunasema ho. Ole yo. I'll teach you one more verse and then I go sit down. iya yawe. You are right. Oh, iya yawe, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya, iya. Yelele, iya yawe, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya. Iya yawe, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya. Dhuluma webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Gender-based violence, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Na vita mbovu, webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Na vita webaki nyuma, sitwaenda na haki. Iya yawe, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya. Iya yawe, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya, iya ya. I believe in women power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruthuku. I think what you've done is given our event what women always bring to events, which is music and dance. Uh, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service and Gender, our friend, Professor Margaret Kobia, the Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi, Professor Stephen Kiama Gitahi, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Enterprise, Professor Ochanda, the Principal, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Jama, the WeHub leader, Professor Wanjiko Kabira, representative of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Diva Dar, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, an initiative exploring what works. This launch is a milestone for the University of Nairobi as we turn 50. 50 is the youth of old age. And it is momentous that the Women's Empowerment Hub is coming to life 10 years after the University of Nairobi established the African Women's Studies Center. The birth of the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub at the University of Nairobi as a thought leader is indeed a cause to celebrate, and that's why it's good that we have begun to sing and dance. The African Women's Studies Center, many of us probably don't know, is a flagship institute, being the only autochthonous African Women's Studies Center in the whole world. The launch of this hub is the birth of a new think tank. I think this morning we were talking about think tanks, and we now have a new think tank on the block, which will push the frontiers of knowledge on women's economic empowerment, looking at affirmative action funds, women in formal and informal employment, childcare and women's work, women's movement, and policy advocacy. The WeHub will be a one-stop shop for ideas on what works for women's economic empowerment. We expect cooking of new ideas in the form of path-breaking research and generation of new knowledge through doctoral and master's theses. The expectation is that women's economic empowerment and the hub that we launched today will propel Kenyan women to realize their dreams in the political, social, and economic realms. And maybe we should be saying that it will bring to the limelight what women do. We are privileged today to have all the actors here. We have the women, we have policy makers, we have researchers, we have investors in women economic empowerment. We expect bespoke solutions tailored to suit Kenyan women's needs. And with those few remarks, I'd like now to welcome Professor Wanjiko Kabira, the hub leader, to give her remarks and invite the other guests. Professor Kabira.
Thank you very much, Professor Bote. Honorable Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Public Service and Gender Affairs, Professor Kovia, and also a good friend of the University of Nairobi, Professor Stephen Kiama, Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi, Professor Horace Ochada, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Enterprise, Professor Mohamed Abdi Jama, Principal College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and also Chair of Women Economic Empowerment Hub Steering Committee, Ms. Diva Da, Program Manager, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and all other guests who are actually participating online. The African Women's Studies Center will soon be celebrating 10 years of its existence. The center recognizes that the experiences of African women have not been part of mainstream knowledge development and have often not been a source of public and legitimate knowledge that guides development in this country and indeed in Africa. These experiences and knowledge have not been utilized to shape, order, and name the world for African women. Our focus is therefore to bring the African women's knowledge to visibility through academic and policy debates in our academic institutions and other fora at the national and regional levels. The center also recognizes that in our region, we continue to refer to adduced theories and frameworks whose basic assumptions do not include African women's worldview. Theories of power, political and other, need to be interrogated from the African women's experiences point of view. The mission is to promote intellectual inquiry by and on experiences of women through research, teaching, publication, and dissemination, and engage in with policymakers, women's and civil society organizations in order to bring African women's perspectives into development process. In its evidence-based research policy and advocacy division, the center brings together a multidisciplinary team of scholars to ensure advocacy for policy change based on cutting-edge research. The center draws its expertise from different disciplines from the University of Nairobi. This was the case in a program supported by the National Treasury a few years ago on national food security in 47 counties, where the multidisciplinary team worked closely with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to collect and process the data and advocate for policy change with the parliamentarians and other government institutions to disseminate the information widely and influence policy in different areas, including the food security bill that is currently on the to-do list of the government list. Now we have the birth of a new program, which is Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. When the opportunity to work with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on initiative for what works for women's economic empowerment, the African Women's Studies Center brought together a team of experts, mainly from the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, which is the biggest college in the university. The team comprises of scholars from School of Economics, School of Law, School of Business, Institute of Development Studies, Political Science, Center for Environmental Law, African Women's Studies Center, Population Studies, and Research Institute, and also Faculty of Agriculture, among others. The team worked together for almost a year to prepare for this program with the able guidance of the program officer, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates of Foundation, Diva Da, and Jessie Shava, who is a gender equality expert in the same institution. The team was also given maximum support by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Professor Gitahi Kiama, during the process of preparation. The 25 plus researchers team are guided by a multidisciplinary team of Professor Kireti Nganga, School of Economics, Patricia Bote, School of Law, Dr. Mary Bidi, School of Economics, Agnes Meroka Mutua, School of Law, Dr. Collins Odote, Center for Environmental Law, and myself, African Women's Studies Center, among others. The team has also received immense support from the finance officer, Ms. Damaris Kavoy, and grants manager, Elizabeth Gachithi. To this team, I want to say a big thank you as we launch this very important program and prepare to celebrate 10 years of African Women's Studies Center. This research team of the University of Nairobi will work closely with a number of partners towards the realization of the vision of the program. To this end, the team will work with the Ministry of Public Service and Gender Affairs that houses some of the key affirmative action programs that are critical for women's economic empowerment and which form a big part of the agenda of this program. We really are very honored, Professor Kobia, that you are here with us. I would like to really thank you because you have often called upon African Women's Studies Center to think together on research policy related issues. We will also work with Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Kenyatta University Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, a National Gender Equality Commission, ActionAid, as well as women's organizations, including National Women's Steering Committee, housed by Crown Trust, TechnoServe, Collaborative Center for Gender and Development, among other partners. The University of Nairobi is very grateful to Bill Gates Foundation, especially Diva and Jesse, who have worked with us during the process of preparing and negotiating the grant. They are our partners in this program and hope to continue beyond the stipulated period of 5 years. During this process, we have the opportunity to spark change, to create pathways for women's economic empowerment, to create new knowledge, especially knowledge created using African women's perspectives at all levels. We have the opportunity to create new thinking informed by cutting-edge research and influence national and county policies to ensure women's economic empowerment. We are therefore very happy today that we have the opportunity to reflect on this particular program. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kabira. I think we're going to be joined by Diva Dar online. So we will hear from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who you've had have given us a show up, and we've been working together very well. So Diva Dar.
Thank you. I'm happy to speak, but before I'd actually like to introduce my colleague, Lorna Tumbabaze, who is the East African representative for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to say a few words, and then I would be happy to turn and talk about our work and partnership with the University of Nairobi on the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. If I could just pass over to Lorna, who is also joining us today from the US.
Thank you, Deva. I will start by acknowledging all the dignitaries in the audience and each and every one of them. Switch off this thing. Switch it. Thank you. I will start by acknowledging all the dignitaries in the audience, each and every one of you in your individual capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. On my own behalf and that of the Foundation, please allow me to extend my appreciation to the Government of Kenya, the University of Nairobi, and the organizers of this event. The Foundation is committed to the partnership with the Government of Kenya to make meaningful contribution to the Big Four agenda and the Vision 2030 through our global, regional, and country-specific investments in the joint efforts to realize the SDGs, specifically SDG 1 to 6. And today we're focused on SDG 5. Since 2017, the Foundation has increased and expanded investments in Kenya in the sectors of health, agriculture, gender, financial services for the poor, water and sanitation, and tobacco control efforts. The foundation, as you know, is also a major contributor to the Global Fund for AIDS, TB, malaria, to Gavi, and the Global Financing Facility that benefits most global countries, including Kenya. The foundation also supports World Health Organization Afro, CDC Africa, to contribute to the COVID pandemic response, including Kenya, which you know has disproportionately impacted young girls and women. The University of Nairobi Women Economic Empowerment Hub is aligned to the foundation overarching principle to support the government-led and owned initiative, to leverage and tap into the wealth and expertise that exists in countries like Kenya, to work with institutions like the University of Nairobi that already have capabilities for scale up of best practices, not only in Kenya, but also in the region. The foundation is partnering already with the University of Nairobi on another investment focused on data. Therefore, this hub is a testament to the importance of the foundation, of the foundation on how it presses the generation, management, and equipping of decision makers with timely, context-specific data to inform decision making at all levels for realization of political will, commitments, programs, and policies that specifically reach the most vulnerable, and specifically girls and young women. We view this hub as a key link in addressing the socioeconomic impact of COVID-19 that has had a disproportionate impact on girls and young women. We view Kenya as a sub-regional leader on the gender issues, exemplified by the leadership it has shown to co-lead the Gender-Based Violation Action Coalition as part of the Generation Equality Forum planned for this year. With this preamble, I will go ahead and hand over to my colleague Diva, the investment owner, to talk more about this hub investment. Thank you, and we look forward to a very rewarding partnership on this hub and other existing investments in Kenya, guided by our overall principle that all lives are equal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lorna. Dear CS Kobia, Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Kabira, and dear friends and colleagues, it's a privilege to be here today, even though I wish we could be here in person with each other rather than joining virtually from across the 7 seas. I'm Diva Dhar. I've met many of you before. I work for the gender equality team at the Gates Foundation, where I lead our work on gender data and evidence. It has been my specific pleasure to build the partnership and work closely with the University of Nairobi team led by Professor Kabira to support their vision and plans for building a solid research and evidence hub on women's economic empowerment, an international center of excellence, which leverages the strengths of different disciplines, different methods and experts within the University of Nairobi and its networks and partners in Kenya, to create the partnerships to serve and assist the policy needs of the government and the needs of the citizens of Kenya, and to create future generations of researchers, professionals, and decision makers who will champion women's economic empowerment. I want to congratulate the university on overcoming several challenges during this period of COVID in coordination, in working, and developing ambitious plans, which they have turned now into a reality. This is the start of a journey of a fruitful collaboration to support research and policy efforts to empower women in Kenya, to get evidence and research off the shelf, to advance the country's gender goals, especially as those related to women's work and enterprise, which are the areas of focus for the center. I'm also very grateful, and I want to welcome University of Nairobi to an international network of partners for Gates Foundation who work on gender equality and champion women's economic empowerment through both their research as well as action. Specifically, the University of Nairobi's hub is going to belong to an international network of the Initiative of What Works, which will be in great company with Kenyatta University as well as 2 other centers in India, with plans to expand to other countries. From research to policy is a tiring, long journey, painstaking work, but given the extent of our current knowledge and evidence base on what works for women's economic empowerment, it is a really important one. Partnerships are also key. I value and I'm grateful for all the excellent partners and champions who have gathered here today, both virtually and in person in the auditorium, to venture on this journey together. Thank you very much for your support, and we look forward to the collaboration. Congratulations again.
My pleasure to welcome the principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Mohammed Jama, who is also the chair of the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub Steering Committee.
Thank you very much. Professor Margaret Kobia, Cabinet Secretary, Public Service and Gender Affairs, Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi, Professor Kiama, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Enterprises, Professor Horace Ochanda. We have leader, Professor Wanjiku Kabira, and Ms. Diva Da and company, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. The College of Humanities and Social Sciences is one of the 6 colleges of the University of Nairobi, comprising 4 schools, 4 institutes, 3 centers, and 1 faculty with a population of over 30,000 students and a few thousand faculty members. The college offers a wide variety and array of academic and research programs such as law, economics, business, gender studies, anthropology, environmental law, history, sociology, virtually all disciplines in humanities and social sciences. It is in this college that the African Women Studies Center was established in 2013. We are therefore gathered here today to launch one of the newest University of Nairobi research programs, the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, hosted by African Women Studies Center. This program is in line with the vision of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences to be the leading college that promotes excellence in teaching, training, research, and consultancy. It also speaks to our vision and mandate and core values. As a college, we are proud to host this program. We shall effectively play our role and support the program team to ensure its successful implementation. The college will undertake its responsibility with utmost diligence, not only to oversee the implementation of this research program, but ascertain that the research findings are utilized to transform the lives of women and society at large. We appreciate Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the financial support to facilitate this research program. I know the team members very well. They're people with impeccable academic record. And I can attest to the fact that they will undertake the job with diligence. I have no doubt whatsoever that the team will deliver to Bill and Belinda Gates Foundation and society at large. And I want to finally appreciate Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I want to assure them they will get value for the resources that they have invested in this program. I thank you very much, and I would like to call upon the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Enterprises, Professor Horace Ochanda, to make his remark.
CS, Public Service and Gender Affairs, Professor Margaret Kobia, the Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi, Professor Stephen Kiama Gitahi, the Principal's College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Mohamed Jama, Professor Wanjiko Kabira, Ms. Divada, Program Manager, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Professor Kameri Mbote, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The University of Nairobi is research intensive and has with a reputation for excellence and a strong and vibrant research culture. Indeed, one of the core mandates of the university is research and innovation. Our research work is recognized for its impact and relevance to the region. This explains the high status accorded to the University of Nairobi, both nationally and internationally. The research work at the University of Nairobi is spearheaded by a vibrant research, innovation, and enterprise division that is charged with the responsibility of enhancing research activities in the university. Our vision at the division is excellence in research, innovation, and enterprise, with a mission to promote discovery, application, and dissemination of knowledge through quality research and innovation. However, we do not just stop there doing the research and then we put our findings on the shelves. What we focus on is to see what this research can do to the common mwananchi or to the populace at large. So we want our research to be geared towards improving the lives of our people. I believe that the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub could not have been better placed elsewhere, both in Kenya and in the region. We underscore the significance of research in promoting development and women's economic empowerment. This, I believe, is an area that has not been given the significance it deserves, both nationally and in the region. This is reason enough for the division to be proud that it is a key player in this venture. I commend the WeHub leadership at selecting the 4 broad research areas that are imperative, not only for achieving women's economic empowerment, but to poverty reduction in this country. These 4 broad program areas are affirmative action funds and entrepreneurship, 2, women in formal and informal employment, 3, childcare and women's work, and 4, women's movement and policy advocacy for women's economic empowerment. This is an indication that the team was not just gender sensitive, but was consciously aware of the strategic needs for the Kenyan women. This is due to the fact that poverty in Kenya has a gender dimension, and the initiatives to reduce it have always eluded policymakers as well as practitioners. It is unfortunate that researchers have not given this issue the importance it deserves. Yet, studies such as the one conducted by IDRC in 5 countries, including Kenya, India, Nepal, Tanzania, and Rwanda, show that women spend a significant amount of time caring for children, leaving them with little or no time for paid work. There is also evidence that gender gaps are not only inequitable, but also reduce economic performance. Institutions such as the UN Women, which is a major voice in women's issues globally, notes as follows. 1, women's economic empowerment is central to realizing women's rights and gender equality. 2, empowering women in the economy and closing gender gaps in the world of work are key to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. 3, when more women work, economies grow. 4, increasing women's and girls' educational attainment contributes to women's economic empowerment and more inclusive economic growth. And 5, women's economic quality is good for business. 6, unpaid care work is essential to the functioning of the economy, but often goes uncounted for and unrecognized. Studies show that if women's unpaid work were assigned a monetary value, it would constitute between 10% and 39% of the GDP. I am sure the WeHub will bring out the real situation and the appropriate interventions of addressing any identified gaps in women's economic empowerment in Kenya. It is for this reason that we at the RIE, the division, are proud to be part of this noble initiative. I underscore the Women Economic Empowerment Hub commitment to promote evidence uptake by working in partnership with relevant stakeholders, including government departments that work in the 4 broad research areas. I believe that the WeHub will share information regularly with relevant government departments, civil society, the women's movement, researchers and academics working on We. I am sure the WeHub will take advantage of the various platforms offered by the division to disseminate the research findings, including the University of Nairobi Annual Research Week, which is held every year. This year we held it in October, and it was very successful even though it was virtual. Actually, we ended up having more participants than we had when it was physical. That is because, of course, the travel restrictions, etc., do not come in. This will promote the development of a critical discourse on We and will result in strategic development and public finance decisions in the allocation of resources. As I said initially, we want research to inform policy. We don't just want to do research for the sake of doing research. Currently, job opportunities continue to shrink, particularly for the disadvantaged groups, and more so during the COVID-19 pandemic, when protocols adopted by the government tend to disproportionately and negatively impact on women who are mostly involved in the service industry in the formal and informal sectors. This was also picked out by Divada when she was talking about what the foundation does. Innovation and entrepreneurship remain the main prospect for Kenyans. For this reason, the WeHub aims at increasing women's enterprises, access to government procurement opportunities, Youth Enterprise Development Fund, and the many other funds, create business networks for 120 women enterprises in 12 countries, incubate 120 women enterprises, in 12 countries. Through the Research and Innovation Division, the University of Nairobi is dedicated to creating and strengthening partnerships with industry and other significant institutions and organizations to maximize research outcomes. We are especially proud of the contributions of the university in making our research and learning centers and institutes and the involvement with industry partners. We welcome the WeHub as our youngest center to join the university's innovation incubation initiatives. We at the division are committed to supporting the WeHub realize her vision of full realization of women's economic empowerment, as well as its mission of being a thought leader in producing cutting-edge, innovative, rigorous, and accessible evidence through research for impacting policy formulation, implementation, and upscaling for the full realization of women's empowerment. We shall also support We Hub in realizing its objectives of 1, building research capacity, to grow research funding, promoting commercialization of research, promoting protecting intellectual property rights, enhancing dissemination of research findings to stakeholders. Finally, I underscore the significance of research and data collection in closing the gender gap in financial inclusion and women's economic empowerment as strategic step towards the improvement of opportunities for women and girls. That is why the purpose of the We Hub to contribute to evidence-based decision-making and implementation of policies and programs will be a major milestone in Kenya. I thank Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for choosing to work with the University of Nairobi on this particular program. I am sure we shall all learn a lot from the research findings by the We Hub under the able leadership of the African Women Studies Center and our researchers who are all passionate about women's and girls' empowerment. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to work with you and expand our horizon in this less trodden field. God bless you all, and thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Stephen Kiama-Getahi, to give his remarks. Thank you.
Very well, this is a new normal when you are addressing some crowd you cannot see. But now, yes, Cabinet Secretary, Professor Margaret Coffey, we have been used to this in the university since the beginning of the year. Very well, I want to acknowledge you, Cabinet Secretary, Public Service and Gender Affairs, Professor Margaret Coffey. You have been here many times, and we always greatly appreciate the honor for you to leave your programs and also come and participate with us and join us when we do such activities like we are doing now. I want to acknowledge the rest of you who are here and those who are online, including our partners, MS Diva Da, Jesse Chawa, and the others. And obviously our great women at the University of Nairobi who initiated this program, led by Professor Wajiko Kafela and the others. And I remember she called at the beginning of this proposal, and she has mentioned as much, having some little challenges. And we agreed that she can call me at any one time to ensure that this program goes through. So I want to acknowledge all of you, including the DVC research. Now, Professor Madai, who I worked with very closely sometimes back, especially on the last days, the last 3 years, we worked very, very closely. She shared with me quite a bit of some work she was doing with the Green Wave movement and her entry point in the issue of women empowerment, where she talked about most of the challenge of the women empowerment is because of lack of self-realization that you would find many times, even the people in the communities, because in those groups you also had men. You say the observation is that many people are ready to look for excuses, either why they have the things, they have the soil is the way it is because maybe the chief did not do something, or the government of the day, or maybe their husbands, or their wives, or something, and not looking at oneself, the issue of self-realization and building, empowering yourself moving forward, but not allowing this obstruction about other people. What you would call in Kiswahili also, kujijua, that it was important. But, and then she always demonstrated on the issue of therefore entering the long bus, what you would call the long bus syndrome, the long side syndrome. You want to go to Nakuru, you find yourself in Machakos. And then when you find yourself in Machakos, you begin to explain that maybe the touts shouted that this was going to Machakos, or the signboard was like this, or there were other people who are waiting with you at the bus station and entered the bus with you. And that's how you entered and found yourself in Machakos instead of Naivasha. And therefore, keeping on telling you, don't enter the wrong bus. So those were really entry concepts. As a university members, we underscore the significance of research and the data collection and the management in determining decisions relating to the development processes, including policy formulation as well as implementation. It is for this reason that the university has set aside a whole division of research to focus on research, innovation, and enterprise. And this division is headed by Professor Horace Ochanda. The Women Economic Hub, which we are launching today, could therefore not have found a better institution to be domiciled here in Kenya or elsewhere in the region than the University of Nairobi, which has provided the appropriate infrastructure, appropriate environment for nurturing it. The launch of the Women Empowerment Hub has also coincided with our celebration of 50 years of academic excellence. And as we usher in the 50 years moving forward, and also launching this institute at 50, we recognize that they are going to work together. And as we can start reflecting back on what we have achieved as a university. The Women Economic Hub points the direction that the university should focus on in the next 50 years to continue leading as a center of excellence and a thought leader in Kenya. As the Vice Chancellor, I acknowledge it is a great honor for the University of Nairobi to house the Women Economic Hub, and we shall do whatever is within our power to ensure that the hub really and truly becomes a thought leader in each of the 4 broad research areas they have chosen. That is affirmative action funds and entrepreneurship, women in formal and informal employment, child care and women's work, women's movement and policy advocacy for women economic empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, drawing from a multidisciplinary team of scholars in economics, women's studies, law business studies, and development studies, the hub will produce foundation research to understand what matters for women's economic empowerment and understand pathways that enable women to work. And we have mentioned some of these women who are here, Professor Wajigo Kabela, Professor Kameri Bote, and Professor Kireti Nganga. I am confident that given the able and the experienced leadership that I have just mentioned, the hub will generate cutting-edge data to strengthen generation and the use of evidence-based data to influence policy development and implementation of the same. This, no doubt, will be emulated regionally and globally. Thus, the Women Empowerment Hub will continue to perpetuate the University of Nairobi as a research and innovation center of excellence. The 21st century is increasingly becoming a knowledge-based economy, and this underscores the significance of the research and the innovation. New knowledge is critical in addressing the challenges of sustainable development in our societies today. Despite the tough times for researchers as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which may be a challenge for physical access to research facilities, such as the various libraries, because of the issue of social distancing access, I'm proud to inform you that our staff here at the university have access to information in our website because it's always available. Even they can access the library resources online. And those who are in this hub will be able to access this information as they need. The staff also from the library, as well as from the ICT, will continue to support the hub to achieve its objective. I'm confident that in the 5-year period, the Women Empowerment Hub researchers will use these facilities, and we will have no excuse for not effectively delivering its objectives. And the objectives I know have been shared before, and thus build research capacity to grow research funding, promote commercialization of research by increasing collaborations, promote and protect intellectual property rights through registration, enhance dissemination of research findings to stakeholders, etc., etc. In addition to the conducive research environment, the University of Nairobi has allocated the Women Empowerment Hub an office. This office is located at Kenya Science campus, where Professor Oshanda also happens to be the principal, deputy principal for that area. This will be a home for the Women Economic Hub. The university will also contribute to the effective running and realization of the hub objectives by attaching staff, both as researchers as well as hub secretariat, to ensure effective running of the hub. As the University of Nairobi leadership, we shall offer all the necessary support to ensure appropriate coordination, administration, and logistic support for the hub. As I conclude, our gratitude goes to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who have just spoken, for selecting the University of Nairobi among other universities, despite the very stiff competition to deliver the Women Empowerment Hub research. We are proud to partner with the foundation, and I believe your experience, that is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with the University of Nairobi, will make you and will convince you to extend your engagement with the university beyond this project. We at the university believe that the Women Empowerment Hub is only the first step and the critical step towards many other engagements with you. As a research institution, we look forward to continued engagement. With those remarks, I wish to thank you all for participating in this lounge. And I also want to welcome the Cabinet Secretary, but before then, I'm told that there will be some clip that will be played here. So I think maybe we need to do that first, then we welcome her to come. Thank you and God bless you.
And discourse. It has done this through research. The University of Nairobi is among the top universities in Africa and indeed the world. It prides itself as a world-class university which is committed to scholarly excellence. Since its inception 50 years ago, the university has provided Kenyan and other students from across the world with quality education, as well as created vibrant platforms for knowledge building and discourse. It has done this through research and innovation, building of networks and partnerships with like-minded private and public institutions, as well as individuals. One of these is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, with which it has recently partnered to establish the Women's Economic and Empowerment Hub as one of its various centers of knowledge. Joining us today is the University of Nairobi Vice Chancellor, who had these remarkable comments to make about the Empowerment Hub.
Yes, I am Professor Kiama Itahi, the Vice Chancellor at University of Nairobi. University of Nairobi was chartered in 1970. It is now 50 years old. The University of Nairobi is a product of collaboration and partnership. This has given it an appropriate foundation for growth and diversification of programs. The university has a clear policy on collaborations and partnerships, which has always brought on board different ideas, different people, in order to ensure that the university is able to meet its mandate. Every partner bringing on the table their competitive advantage, which has really helped the university to grow. We are happy as a university to host the Women Economic Empowerment Center. This Economic Empowerment Center is going to give the University of Nairobi an opportunity to accelerate its ongoing work to transform communities. And particularly this one is targeting on women who have had challenges to break the ceiling. This center is going to work with the women to ensure that they can break this ceiling and be empowered, because when women are empowered, then they are able to bring the ideas on the table, and those ideas will grow the country, and also they will be able to support their families. The University of Nairobi has a huge alumni base, and this alumni is occupying different sectors of the economy, in public and private sector. Those who will come for training at the Women Empowerment, Economic Empowerment Hub will be able to go back to where they serve and influence policy. It's worth noting that because of the strategic position that the University of Nairobi occupies, the university has a great convening power. It's an influencer. Our voice in the country is hard. And therefore, the ideas that are going to come out of this center, we will be able to find appropriate fora for deliberation and discussion and translation to policy and development in the country. As I indicated earlier, the University of Nairobi is very happy to host the Women Economic Hub. As the Vice Chancellor, I will do whatever is within my power, together with the management of the university, to provide an enabling environment for the hub to grow, for the hub to be able to reach its objective, and for the hub to be sustainable, and for the hub impact to be felt in Kenya and even globally. This is a strategic initiative by our researchers at the University of Nairobi, and we will support them to succeed. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. I think it's now my singular and humble duty to welcome the Cabinet Secretary Public Service and Gender Affairs, Professor Margaret Kofia, to address us and launch this hub. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation and for the opportunity. Professor Stephen Itai Kiama, Vice Chancellor, University of Nairobi, Professor Hollis Ochanda, DVC, Research, Innovation and Enterprises, Professor Muhammad Abdi Jama, Chair. We have steering committee. My friends here, Professor Wanjiku Kabira, Professor Mbote, Professor Kiriti, and the other professors and faculty present. Ms. Divaj Da, Program Manager. We from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity again. And I'm always happy to be back at Nairobi University, particularly for various reasons. One of the reasons being an alumni of this university many years ago, there's a part of me that makes me feel like I want to come home often. My other reason, the Vice Chancellor, I do not know any ministry in government that does not interact with your faculty. Name it, agriculture, health, all over. And I think that alone, I can be here to say thank you to University of Nairobi for that engagement with government. I have seen we have evolved from criticizing policy of government to partnering with government, but at the same time be able to critique for better of this development of this country. There's also more closer to gender studies. Vice Chancellor have worked with their faculty, especially Professor Kabira, Bote Kiriti, and many more, where I ask them, I was never a gender expert, but I find myself sitting where I'm supposed to understand the gender. And when I'm confronted with a challenge to understand a bit more to be able to do my job, I quickly call your faculty and ask Kabira. Now we in government, we are thinking of reviewing the constitution and we are talking about the BBI. What did we know about the history of women participating in the constitution making? Very quickly, they put something together. And when I talk to my colleague, I look as if I'm very smart. Then I ask Professor Mbote, when you look at that constitution, what is there for women? And what should we watch out? So within a very short time, they have understood the bureaucracy of government that we can just quickly, even on phone, be able to address some of the issues that we face. And for that, I just want to thank you very much. Let me also congratulate you for getting 50 years. It's not easy. I know the university is where you find people who make things happen. To get to 50 years, it has taken some sacrifices, some burdens, some innovation, and also going an extra mile. So I think the challenge we have, all of us who are seated here today, and those who are watching, participating in the webinar, you can always tell yourself, within those 50 years, where is our mark? And in the next 50 years that we are in this opportunity, where is our contribution? Let me thank all the speakers, just before I read my speech. Right from those who entertained us, I was very kind of touched by the poem, by the other presentation made by the young man. I felt, yes, they understand the issues that women are facing, and I think they're able to articulate. Therefore, there is a convergence of all the speakers, the entertainment presentation, that what are we trying to achieve? Because that clarity, I think, is very, very important. And I think that's why we are seeing the African Women's Studies with partnership with Bill Gates Foundation, that we are able to launch a new outfit, a new research area that I think is going to make a difference for us moving forward. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure to join you at the launch of the University of Nairobi We Hub. I'm informed that the University of Nairobi We Hub aims to be a thought leader in producing cutting-edge, innovative, rigorous, and accessible research, which will contribute to full realization of women economic empowerment in Kenya. This cutting-edge research is expected to impact policy, formulation, implementation, and providing solutions, real solutions to challenges that women in economic empowerment face. I am humbled to know that 90% of the small businesses in the informal sector are owned by women. Therefore, if you can have a study that addresses the challenges of the 90% of the women who are in the informal sector, and the informal sector, which is employing almost 18 million of Kenyans, I think we need to feel excited that we will be really touching the real people. Even to know the same women produce 80% of the food we have in Kenya in shambas which they do not own, but they go ahead and produce 80% of the food that we eat, because in most homes, the mothers will know what will be eaten. I think then in that space, we all feel excited when God gives us an opportunity to participate with and engage with women. I congratulate the University of Nairobi for launching this hub. It will be a critical institution in strengthening the economic empowerment of women in Kenya and beyond. As a ministry in charge of gender affairs, we strive to promote gender equity and gender equality with the aim of improving the lives of Kenyans. I'm pleased to see that Women Economic Empowerment Hub that will provide evidence on what works for women in economic empowerment, as this will be very useful for us in the ministry as we seek to fulfill our mandate. As government, we acknowledge that empowering women economically is key component of sustainable development. In this regard, we are guided by the National Policy on Gender and Development. The overarching objective of the policy to provide guidance for implementation of gender equality provisions in the Constitution and other recognized international treaties and instruments. The ministry is also guided by the Kenya Constitution 2010, which seeks to provide women and men with the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities. Article 27, Section 6, providing for legislative and other measures, including affirmative action program and policies to be designed to address any disadvantage suffered by individuals or groups because of the past discrimination. The government has taken steps and established affirmative action fund to redress some of the inequalities experienced by women and other marginalized groups. Out of that fund, 30% of the men are also included in borrowing from this particular fund. The Kenya Vision 2030 agenda is another document that guides our work as it supports the coordination and the monitoring of gender mainstreaming across all the levels of government and in private sector. At the global level, Sustainable Development Goal number 5 on gender equality, and also the Agenda 2063 on the African we want. In one of the aspirations, it focuses on inclusion of youth and women in development. This is an addition to the Big Four agenda on food security, affordable housing, manufacturing, and affordable health care for all, which His Excellency the President has continued to emphasize as critical areas of our development. I'm looking forward that this hub will be looking at the role of women in supporting the Big Four agenda. I know that the research that will be generated by this hub will be a crucial support for supporting development and the policies and the program that will be important for the national socio-economic development. Women in the business face challenges such as access to finance, markets, management, and also hostile environment. Further, women need capacity for leadership and decision-making, dealing with gender-based violence, dealing with prejudices and discrimination, etc. All these challenges have an impact on women economic empowerment and can benefit from the research from the hub. I note some of the programs include access to government procurement opportunities that enables women to do business with the government, since the government has set 30% of its budget to go to Agipo. The government will therefore benefit from the research that can inform the revision of policies and the legislative framework that enable us to serve women in Kenya in a more efficient and effective manner, and raise the uptake from 15, which is currently the uptake on Agipo is around below 15, but we would want to raise it to 50%. I'm happy to inform you that the ministry is collaborating already with the African Women Studies Center of this university to review policies in Agipo and also Biashara Kenya Fund regulation, which specifically will target women and the marginalized groups. In this regard, the government continues to work towards making policies and registration to be more inclusive and more effective. The ministry recognizes that there may be a limited number of strong institutions focusing on women economic empowerment and on producing research and evidence using a robust, rigorous methods and techniques that this hub promises to offer. The hub, therefore, comes at a time when quality research is critical to an upscaling program that will promote women economic empowerment both at national and the county level. We are also currently living in a difficult period where the economic gains made by women are being eroded by COVID-19 pandemic. It is therefore crucial that the We Hub also provides data on how pandemic has impacted on women and provide recommendation on what can be done to reverse the negative trends that have happened over this period over 1 year. The COVID-19 pandemic effects are likely to be with us for a longer time, but it is important that we seek innovative interventions that can change the tide, preserve the gains, and create new economic opportunities. I wish to emphasize that the most effective way to change status of well-being of the community is to empower women economically. When women are empowered economically, they have a voice to champion in education, be in leadership, and also claim social justice and maximize their full potential in national development. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to reaffirm that the government commitment to collaborate with the University of Nairobi in this very important program and look forward to working together to explore areas of common interest as we create better environment for women economic empowerment. Finally, allow me to thank the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the support they have continued to give to women economic empowerment, and also mention our appreciation from the government, because also Melinda, as you have heard before, it has been cited here, they work with very many other ministries, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, my ministry, State Department of Gender, to empower and to improve the quality of life for Kenyans. The government appreciates all what the Nairobi University is doing with its partners, and we look forward to supporting every effort. And whenever we need us, or because Nairobi University has got strong connection, strong network with the government. Whenever we are needed, please do not hesitate, just call us back. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, now, I take this opportunity to officially launch the University of Nairobi Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. The Women Economic Opportunity, Women Economic Empowerment Hub is now officially launched. Thank you.
Please allow me, Cabinet Secretary, to also call up the Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Chair of the Steering Committee, Professor Kireti, Dr. Odote, that people should really
You will see.
Officially launched.
It is now my humble duty to declare Women's Economic Empowerment Hub officially opened.
Thank you very much. We now have Professor Kiri.
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm supposed to do the very simple thing of giving a vote of thanks. And first and foremost, I'll give thanks to our chief guest, Professor Margaret Kobia, for taking time off your very, very busy schedule and to come and grace this occasion. We thank you. You have supported us all throughout this journey, and I hope you will continue working with us as we soldier on in this journey. Thank you very much. Secondly, I wish to thank our Vice Chancellor, Professor Gitahi Kiama, who has also supported us throughout this journey, even when we were almost giving up. I'm sure you'll continue supporting this hub as it strives to achieve its objectives. The principal, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, this hub rests in your college. We thank you, and you have already assured us that you help us in achieving our objectives. The DVC, Research, Innovation, and Enterprises, you have promised that you'll work with us as you go along. And from history, we know that your office is very vibrant, and we promise to make it even more vibrant, and we shall actually be knocking on your door. And I hope you'll not say that this is too much. Thank you very much. Now, our donor, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I have no words to thank you, except to say you have planted a seed for women economic empowerment, and for sure it will grow to maturity. In particular, I wish to thank Diva Dar, who has worked with us all along in shaping the proposal and connecting us to various networks. Thank you, Diva, and your team, Amy, Jesse Shower, Kitty Harding, and Lona Tumebazi. I can't forget to thank our mentor, Professor Wajiko Kabera, the phenomenal woman, I would say, whom we have learned at her feet. Your prodding, your questions, encouragement, and strength inspires me and many others. And thanks, Wajiko. May the good Lord give you many more years to inspire others. Now to the management team of the WeHub, the researchers, research fellows, and research assistants, thank you very much for being there. Not to all who have participated in any way to make this day a success. And in particular, I thank Eric Budi, who I think we have already converted you to thinking like a woman. It's not bad to think a woman. It's just so that you're sensitive, you're gender aware. Thank you, Eric, and all the other people who have participated in any other way, the decorations, the ICT people. And if I don't mention a name, know that it's just that I've forgotten, but you're thanked. Now, to all participants who are here with us, those watching us, those listening, and I understand that you are being watched all the way in Australia. I know my daughter has just told me that she's actually watching. We are being watched in the United States. We thank all of you, and we hope that you'll continue participating in all the webinars and all the other functions that we shall be having. Finally, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a COVID-19 free 2021. Thank you. But before we leave, there's a group photo after the vote of thanks. So please, I don't know how it's going to be organized, but I wish you a Merry Christmas and a COVID-19 free, stress-free 2021. Thank you all.
End meeting.